The coronavirus pandemic, flipping our education system upside down.
It's my 15th year teaching, is that I feel like a first-year teacher all over again.
Teachers, students, parents, adjusting to this new way of learning in a virtual world.
I'm not giving up because we want the best for our students.
With safety a top priority, how has this pandemic transformed education?
Teachers are resilient and they're doing it, and they're doing it well.
In this 18 News special report, we take a look at the state of our schools.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Zach Wheeler.
And I'm Jordan Orkis. Thank you for joining us for this 18 News special report, The State of Our Schools. Now, the coronavirus pandemic has changed how the majority of children learn.
It has been a challenging time, not only for students, teachers, and administrators, but for parents as well. Let's take a look. In March of last year, school districts turned to virtual learning for the remainder of the school year as COVID cases began to rise. Now, a majority of schools have began using a hybrid learning model, bringing students into the classroom in groups. And just yesterday, we learned that the CDC said that it is safe for students to return to the classroom if safety measures are in place.
Being able to help beyond the means that we normally do is very rewarding.
Since the pandemic began, students have been forced to learn from home, some with no means of internet connection at all. One Central Hamlet location is helping with those problems. Aaron Volunteer Fire Company President Joshua Blavet explains how families can drive up to use the Wi-Fi.
They can just come in and park right in the north side parking lot, and they don't even have to leave their vehicles because the setup that the school has provided is right here, and there's an antenna in this window that shoots out into the parking lot, and you don't even have to leave your car. You can just sit there and download whatever you need.
Like Aaron Volunteer Fire, other departments have been helping the community by doing more than just putting out fires.
We have also worked in conjunction with a lot of the fire departments in the local area, Tompkins County, Tompkins Corners, Millport Fire Department just happened today, and Aaron Fire Department, to provide hotspots where they can pull up outside in the parking lots to the side and actually connect to the district resources.
Research for the program started in March, with district officials like Bill Giancoli, the Director of Technology, working to improve it ever since.
If they need connectivity, if they need some kind of broadband connectivity or some internet connectivity in their household, contact their school, and we do have a form and a process that we go through just to kind of see if you qualify. We do have limited numbers, but we do try to honor as many as we can.
Giancoli says patience is needed as everyone is connected to the internet at once. The district says the program will be in the works for as long as it's required.
All right, thank you so much for that, Daryl. Now, parents are playing a major role now more than ever when it comes to their children's education.
An expert from Mansfield University sharing her thoughts on an opportunity for parents and the relationships with children and education.
You're being asked to do a lot of these things that you don't have that training to do, but the truth of the matter is this can be a really wonderful opportunity for you and your child. Talk to the teachers, talk to the administrators. What else can I do? How can, what can I do to help my student learn and grow?
Dr. Parks is hopeful everyone will take these new learning experiences and combine them with the growth of technology while taking on other forms of learning.
Meanwhile, Suny Chancellor Jim Mullaney has been leading the fight in ensuring students and staff are healthy in the state. State officials are trying to stay ahead of the virus and keep normalcy in schools while keeping people safe. The chancellor adding reopening guidelines for the spring semester, requiring students to be tested prior to the start of the semester, mandatory pre-semester quarantining for students living on campus, and other guidelines such as mandatory mask policy and social distancing.
All those things have to be in place in order for us to be successful, right? I can say test everybody, make sure your positivity rate's low, socially distance. But if you don't do it, the positivity rate goes up, people aren't complying, there's a problem on our campus. It ultimately comes down to, does the community rally behind each other as a family, or do they not? And I think what you've seen in the Suny case, overwhelmingly so, has been a uniting of the Suny community in doing the right thing in order to keep this virus at bay.
Now, the Suny school system is the largest in the country, and unlike some other large school systems, they're allowing in-person education this semester. Now, joining us live over Zoom right now is Dr. William Mullaney, the president of Suny Cornyn Community College.
Dr. Mullaney, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We truly appreciate it. What is the biggest issue that the college system is facing right now?
So, Zach and Lauren, so nice to be with you. I'd say, by and large, it's the enrollment declines. You know, what we're seeing is that a lot of students are trying to wait COVID out. They're looking at all their options. You know, we're at Cornyn Community Colleges trying to offer, you know, face-to-face, hybrid, and online options to bring them back. But, you know, in economic downturns, most often you see community college enrollments go up, but we haven't seen that because I think people are still kind of scared.
Okay, our next question for you. As we know, the pandemic has changed so much when it comes to education. What do officials and educators hope the future of education will look like once this is all over?
Well, I think I speak for many of my colleagues when I say I can't wait for the day when our campuses are pulsing with activity again. You know, I think by and large, what we anticipate is a sort of the post-pandemic college will look very different from what it did back in spring of 2020. Students have really, in some ways, learned how best to use technology for their learning, but by the same token, they are missing that personal connection with their peers and with their teachers. So I think the college that will succeed the best are those that are able to combine that personal touch with the technology.
Absolutely. And speaking of post-pandemic, you mentioned that personal connection. Do you think remote learning will continue to be used more than it has in the past?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's really no turning back. You know, I think students who were a little reluctant have seen how the convenience of online learning helps them with their managing their schedules, and faculty who sort of really prefer teaching can have seen how they can be creative by using the online teaching as well. So yeah, I really think that the moves we made to embrace online learning is really the wave of the future.
All right, well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have tonight. Dr. Mullaney, thank you for sharing your insight and joining us tonight.
All right, pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Yeah, and coming up a bit later on in this broadcast, we head to Binghamton University to take a closer look at the challenges our universities are facing in the wake of the pandemic. Of course, you can find all of these stories and interviews coming up on our website, mytwintiers.com. Well, this pandemic has also had a serious impact on the mental health of our students.
Now, what was once a normal routine for kids, going to school in the morning, playing at recess, has turned into staring at a computer screen for hours on end. 18 News reporter Kevin Gefeller joining us now live in the studio with more. Kevin?
Thanks, Zach and Jordan. Emergency rooms saw an increase of more than 20% in mental health related visits for children aged 5 to 17. Many experts are attributing this increase in mental health concerns to the enduring uncertainty that the pandemic presents. Going to school has completely changed in the past year. Devin Tennant, a licensed social worker at Arnett Health, says that many children do not know how to express to their loved ones that they are experiencing mental health struggles like anxiety and depression.
In terms of the Arnett perspective, we're seeing a lot more of this anxiety and depression. Whenever I talk to a child, whether it's in the hospital or in a school setting, I say, what does your body do when you get stressed? How do you know that you're stressed or you're anxious? And a lot of it is like very categorically, like increased heart rate, increased body temperature, they get warm, shaking, just complete brain shut off.
And Tennant says parents should check in with their child. A child's behavior may not change rapidly, but it could change over an extended period of time. She says the most important thing to do as a parent is to let them be kids. It is really hard to be a kid right now, so let them find a COVID-friendly activity and let them dive into that. Reporting live in the studio, Kevin Gefeller, 18 News.
Thank you, Kevin, for that report tonight. Well, still to come on our state of our schools.
How learning remotely may be hurting some students on the spectrum. We hear from parents next.
We have 180 staff members doing everything they can to keep kids safe and to keep kids in the building, because we know that this is the best spot for them. If nothing else, we want to thank the community for all that they're doing, and the kids and staff. So without them, we were not open.
That was Christopher Wood, superintendent of the Odessa Montour School District, a district that's remained in person for this school year.
Yeah, that's right. Chris says a constant communication between both the school and the community has built a trust, allowing them to keep those doors open.
Now, as many students continue to learn remotely, some are having a more difficult time than others because they're on the spectrum.
Our 18 News reporter Ty Wong joining us now live at the studio with more on that. Good evening, Ty.
Good evening, Zach and Jordan. Learning remote has been a challenge for parents and children. I spoke with some parents who say school has been even harder for their kids on the spectrum, and their grades have suffered. 2020 took students out of their classroom and into their homes on Zoom.
It's been a struggle. I know she was a little confused last year when she all of a sudden was unable to attend in-person learning.
For Suzette Morgan, remote learning has been a struggle for her 9-year-old daughter, Aubriana, because she has autism.
She gets her services through school, which include, speech, physical therapy, and occupational therapy. So when that had to go from in-person to virtual, it was very stressful for her.
Morgan says that she's noticed Aubriana's grades were going down. Special education teacher Kim Sanford says teachers are doing what they can to help alleviate the stress on parents and students.
I know I make tons of phone calls to parents to say, hey, what are you doing? How's Johnny doing, with virtual learning?
After being remote for so long, Sanford says she's seen some students start to blossom. Meanwhile, some parents like Ashley Walker have decided to leave the in-school sessions in the past and homeschool their children.
Even with distance learning, we would have to be on their timetable and have to do the assignments that they wanted done. And when everything happened in March, I realized that if it were to come to that in the fall, that she probably wouldn't do well.
Walker says when students go back to in-person learning, she's concerned for her daughter, Aniston.
We had worked for years in therapy, in multiple therapies, on how to be confident and how to be social and how to interact with people. For her being autistic, that's hard for her. Socially, I'm a little worried what her transitioning back to school will look like.
And now that orange and yellow zone restrictions have been removed for parts of the Twin Tiers, school districts are now looking at how they're going to bring students back into the classroom. Reporting live in the studio, Ty Wong, 18 News.
All right, thank you so much, Ty, for that report tonight. We're still ahead here on our State of the School special.
We head to Binghamton University, where students and faculty members share how they're overcoming technical challenges in higher learning.
Younger has me at a little bit of an advantage just because I am more comfortable with computers and technology. We covered using technology in the classroom, but it was using technology when all of your students are sitting in front of you.
And that was Miranda Picardo, an 8th grade first-year teacher at Aldred Ahmed.
The ever-changing landscape of the education system was something she was prepared for, but not what she was expecting for her first year of teaching. And in this ever-changing landscape of remote education, Binghamton University students, faculty, and staff have all needed to adjust to the new way of learning.
Cam LaValle from our station in Binghamton has that story.
It's just not the same. And that could be my bias for sure, but it's just not the same.
Khalil James, a senior at BU and president of the Student Association, has spent a great deal of his time in meetings with students and administration discussing the needs across campus.
Again, you're robbed from that experience of highlighting, your true talent, right? Because a lot of the classroom environment was because there's other people next to you doing the same thing, trying to get to the same place.
BU has worked with Suny administration in Albany to supply equipment to students that need them. For many students and staff, virtual learning was a skill they had to develop. But for some, like Professor Subimal Chatterjee, they've been teaching online classes for years. Through all the challenges, Chatterjee has been amazed at the lengths students have gone to in order to keep up with their course loads.
The extent to which they have tried, it's really made me cry from time to time. And he was a student who was actually texting me from a hospital bed saying how she was concerned that she couldn't go home in time to appear for the test, and could I do something about it? And of course I could do everything about it. First of all, I didn't know that she was in the hospital.
James Pitteresi is overseeing the university's distance learning efforts. Despite all the difficulties brought on by the pandemic, Pitteresi believes that being in the moment is the best way to both learn and grow from this.
I've been telling a lot of my colleagues, you know, really be present in what's going on, because this is history. This is something we'll look back on.
They all agree that as long as the communication lines between administration, students, and faculty remain open, the proper decisions regarding safety and education can continue to be made. At Binghamton University, I'm Cam LaValle.
Still ahead on the state of their school special.
Music education is vital for a well-balanced education. Up next, we'll take a closer look at the unique ways our local music educators are making sure their students are learning.
Music education presents its own unique challenges in the world of teaching.
Switching to virtual learning due to the coronavirus pandemic presented even more of those challenges. 18 News reporter Austin Evans joins us now live from the 18 News Satellite Center with more. Austin.
Good evening, Jordan. Zach, I spoke to some music educators at Cornyn Painted Post schools to see how they transitioned to virtual learning, the struggles they faced, and what they look most forward to next.
Honestly, I think the hardest, most immediate struggle was handling how heartbroken our students and families were with performances and competitions postponed and then later canceled, one after the next after the next.
The hardest part is that losing of the connection to the family.
And we started doing a little bit more rhythm reading and breaking down of rhythms. But tried and true methods, like, you know, things that I know that would work.
One of the struggles that we have both then and now is when students are home, they're not always able to make music at home at the time that we need them to make music. Dad has been on an overnight and he's finally home, but he's sleeping and they can't play their trumpet. They can't sing right now. It is such a blessing to walk down the hallway and hear music coming out of the band room. There is not a moment when that happens where I don't stop for at least a second and just take it all in.
I never thought that I would miss a chatty ensemble, running an ensemble. Never thought I would miss saying, hey, let's go. Yeah, no, it's like the opposite. I'm like, can you please disrespect me and talk? Like, we're humans. Like, come on.
I can't wait to hear a full band. I mean, live.
And the full interview is on our website, mytwintears.com, and it goes into great detail regarding the struggles of teaching music locally during the COVID-19 pandemic. For 18 News, I'm Austin Evans.
Still ahead here on the State of Our School Special.
How one of our very own is bringing science and weather to local students through virtual learning. We take a look next.
Well, education is so important to us here at 18 News. Through our 18 Storm Team Weather Wisdom Program, elementary students get a chance to learn about the science behind the weather.
That's right. Here's a clip from Chief Meteorologist Shelby Clark's most recent virtual visit with kindergartners from Finn Academy.
My name's Elliot. How does weather make tornadoes?
That was Elliot, and he would like to know more about how tornadoes are formed.
Shelby answers this question and many more in Weather Wisdom. If your class would like a virtual visit from the 18 Storm Team, email us at 18stormteam@wetmtv.com.
It's always good to see those questions. Thank you. And thank you for joining us for this 18 News special report on the state of our schools. For digital extras from our special report, head to our website, mytwintiers.com.
From all of us here at 18 News, we want to thank our teachers, parents, and students. It hasn't been easy, but you're doing it, and you are doing an amazing job. Have a great night.